Another legendary Jackson, Mississippi pub, restaurant, bar, grill, whatever you want to call it, bites the dust today. Sad, sad day in downtown Jackson as Fenians Pub is set to close its doors after 28 years of business. The original Jackson Irish pub, to the best of my knowledge, dating back to the late 90s there, or the 90s. Good times at Fenians all throughout my partying career in Jackson. St. Patty's Day parade after parties and much, much more. Let's get to it. This is on WLBT. We're going to read a post from Fenians on their Facebook page, and I'm going to kind of talk about some of the things that I talked about in the previous video about the Mayflower reopening in Jackson as we continue to lose the iconic establishments of the last 50 years in our city. A Jackson restaurant and pub has announced that it's closing its doors. Quote, "It is with a very heavy heart that we announced the closing of Fenians Pub after nearly 28 years of serving this incredible community," the business announced Tuesday. As you can see their photo here, this is from their Facebook page. I'm going to click over here. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll do this first. Let's just finish reading WLBT and then I'll read their full quote. It says, "Fenians Pub opened in November of 96 and was locally owned and operated." You know, if my memory serves me correct, I want to say that the old Sheriff McMillan was involved in this somehow or another, maybe an investor. I could be wrong on that, but I swear that's what I was told back in the day. Anyway, their last day of service will be Tuesday, September 10th, with Fenians asking everyone to come out and join us one more time for some hearty food, stout libations, and just a few more salutations. There's a few words I don't use too often: stout, libations, and salutations, but I like it. I like it. Says, here's their full post here. We don't have to go to their Facebook page. It said, "It's with a heavy heart that we announced the closing of Fenians Pub after 28 years of serving this incredible community. Since opening our doors, we have been honored to be a place where friends gathered, memories were made, and the spirit of Jackson was celebrated. We want to express our deepest gratitude to everyone who has supported us over the years. Your loyalty, laughter, and friendship have meant the world to us. Though this chapter is coming to an end, the memories we've shared shall last a lifetime. Thank you for being part of the Fenians Pub family. Our last day will be Tuesday, September 10th. So come out and enjoy some hearty food, stout libations, and just a few more salutations, as previously mentioned. With sincere appreciation, the Fenians Pub team." Well, that's sad, man. I mean, it really is. At the end of the day, you just hate to continue to lose these iconic establishments. Jackson, the community as a whole, was able to, thankfully to some investors, salvage the Mayflower restaurant. We were this close to losing an 89-year, same location establishment. But thanks to the guys that own Elvy's, a restaurant I haven't been to, but it must be good enough, if they're expanding, basically. Anyway, thanks to some guys that see a vision that, frankly, I do not for Jackson. But hey, it's a reason why I'm not rich and own a business right now, maybe. Well, technically, the Clay Edwards Show is a business, but I don't own a nightclub or restaurant anymore because I don't have that same vision, unfortunately, for Jackson based on its current regime and the direction it's been going. I'm saddened that Fenians is closing. I hate it, but am I surprised? I'm probably more surprised it's been able to stay open as long as it has, especially through the mayor's execution of communistic COVID policies and everything else that he put in place, and just the fact that the city's gone downhill fast. They're there in the district where the Capitol Police are, but sometimes the damage has been done. And I think the damage has been done to the reputation of Jackson and how people from the suburbs and surrounding areas feel about going out in Jackson. Frankly, I think that the people who live in Jackson don't necessarily go out in Jackson. Some do, obviously. It's a sad day. It was completely avoidable with good leadership in the city. But hey, I'm convinced that Chakwe-Antro Lumumba and half the city council would love to see businesses leave the city of Jackson. I know that you'll have some people. I've seen them do it. When the elite closed, you're going to have some of the black racists in Jackson celebrate another white-owned business going out of business because they have no intentions on opening up and doing anything with it, but in their minds, they will. And I know that when I talk about race, it gets very uncomfortable, but I'm just repeating the things that they say. They just don't like that I know that they said it, and somebody outside their little circle knows that they're the actual racist, celebrating the closures of businesses that aren't of the same ilk as them. I hope that's not the case, but I highly, highly suspect that it is. Who knows what will go in the building next, or if it'll just sit there empty. Uh, it's a nice little cool building. Probably needs a refresh. Whatever. But man, going to Fenians back in the 2000s, early 2000s to mid 2000s, open mic night on Tuesdays, saw some of the best local talent every Tuesday night. Bradley Baird comes to mind. First and foremost, I know I've seen 100 other people there, but Bradley Baird, for some reason, comes to mind. His version of She Talks to Angels, it was phenomenal. Still, his version is better than the Black Crowes version. Got to see Bradley there all the time. I think they're still doing an open mic, or were still doing an open mic night. I'm not 100% sure. I just don't get out too much anymore. It ain't just a Jackson thing. I'm good for Saturday nights. That's about where my train stops. I did go to Martin's Saturday, not to be all doom and gloom. I went to Martin's Saturday afternoon around 3:00, and there was no less than 100 people inside the bar and on the patio there having a good time. So they've bottled something at Martin's. And I know that the Old Tavern on George Street, also one of my sponsors on the radio show, they seem to be doing well, getting kind of reopened and getting things kicked back off. So we'll see. I'm guessing you're spreading the crowd that is willing to go out kind of thin in Jackson, unfortunately, and only so many places can survive. Again, the Irish pub style atmosphere, the vibe in there, it really does feel like Cheers. I know we use that expression a lot for certain bars and pubs, but like just visually, aesthetically, Fenians felt a lot like Cheers. All the brass, always had good service there, never had bad service. I mean, sometimes a little slow, but that's because it was slam jam packed, and that's nobody's fault. That's a sign that you're in the right place having a good time when it's packed out like that. So hate to see them go. I know we had a little riff last year when I shared a post about somebody getting shot around the corner, and the guy ended up in the parking lot shot. But just sharing the news, man. I hate that they stopped in your parking lot, but that's where it happened at, or not where it happened, but that's where he stopped. That's where the story broke, was in your parking lot. I hate that, but that's part of it. And don't be frustrated with me. Be frustrated with the people of Jackson and the leadership in Jackson that have made people feel so safe that they can get away with shooting somebody in Jackson, that they do it. And fortunately, with the advent of the Capitol Police, thanks to Tate Reeves and the Mississippi legislature, that's happening a whole lot less right here. We'll never forget the Gretchen girl who got killed right there at that red light, one red light up there. So it's been compiling the incidents close to Fenians there where people just don't feel safe parking their cars and going. It's a sad thing. And maybe they just made a family decision to close the business. I've been a part of a decision like that before that was making money, and you just say, we don't want to do this anymore. So that could be the case, but I know a lot of people that don't go anymore to that area. And it ain't just Fenians. I'm not picking on Fenians by no means here. It's period. In that area, a lot of those places down there are suffering. Like I just think of like Hallowell's and Martin's and some of the Old Tavern, how packed they could be versus how, what they're doing now. And they do good business. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not referring to lunchtime business as much so as like your nighttime business and concerts and all that stuff. It's just a lot less of that going on. Martin's has been the flag bearer. They've managed to kind of plant the flag, and I think they get the overwhelming majority of that business. But they've had to heavily invest into the facilities, into what the level of talent they bring. And it's going to be hard to compete against that. Then you got Old Tavern around the corner. It is just an iconic establishment. Iconic, 100-something-year-old building that's been that is a bar. It ain't just like a house or something. It's actually a 100-something-year-old building that people can go in. So much history there. You walk in, you just feel the history at Old Tavern. So people just get selective. You got the new brew pub around the corner. And I know it does really good business, the brewery. So, it's every now and then when growth happens, some people get left behind. And then when you're drawing from a smaller demographic of people who are willing to go in that area, and you've opened up more places, somebody's going to inevitably get hurt. It sucks. I hate it for them. I truly do. I mean, I've been on the other end of the bar closing as well, where it was against our will. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. It ain't no fault of theirs. They've done nothing wrong here. They're just trying to rock and roll and run their business. And, people are making other decisions that affects them, that they have no part of. Like people deciding not to come downtown anymore, or people deciding to go to another place because it's the new thing. Like every bar that I've ever been a part of was 2 to 3 bad weeks away from going out of business. I mean, it takes a lot of cash flow to run a bar. And if it gets slow for an extended run, it's hard to catch up once you get behind. And that's with any business. Bars in particular, it costs as much to open a bar if you're going to have 500 people or 5 people. Because you had to have people in place for people to feel safe. You got to have X amount of security. You got to have the bar staff, your entertainment for the night. Whatever your business model is, it cost me almost $3,000 a night to open up my clubs with security, DJs, staff. That don't even count rent, electricity, any of that stuff. That was actual, staffing and all that. I mean, it adds up. So if we didn't have 1,000 people, if say 300 showed up, it cost me the same amount of money to open for that 300 as it would have that 1,000. Anyway, point being, I don't think it's any fault of their own that it's closing. I know my videos can be a little blunt force trauma with my opinions, but I owned a bar in downtown Jackson for 10 years. My parents owned a business. My dad owned a business on Lynch Street for 40 or 50 years, a convenience store. So we're heavily vested and been on both ends of the stick in Jackson, with doing very, very well and going out of business. So I definitely have sympathy for them. Whether they know me, like me, hate me, whatever, I don't really care. I respect them as an establishment and what they were able to do by staying there for 28 years. Bro, you don't get to do something for 28 years as far as dealing with the public and not be good at what you do. Y'all get out and support these other establishments down there. I brought up too, Martin's downtown. You know where Martin's is. I ain't got to tell you. And of course, Old Tavern there on George Street. Both really cool places, both locally owned, both with great food. All things that Fenians offered. So it takes support for these places to survive. We were blessed to have the iconic Mayflower saved and remodeled and reopened. Let's not lose another place. Just the area and just the historical significance of some of these places and their tie to Jackson. We're losing our history because of this maniacal Marxist mayor and city council and a lot of the people in the city. They just don't care. I mean, I know I'm going to be blunt force trauma, but I call these people out because I don't want places like Fenians closing down. I want to force change by calling out the bad people causing this BS. One day a lot of y'all will understand that. I know a lot of the business owners get it. They personally thank me. They know what I'm doing. They're scared to speak out sometimes because, permitting issues and anything else. It's good to have a guy like me who gives no F's what those people think of me. I don't want them to ever like me. I don't want them to ever be on the same side of an argument as me. They're evil people. They're dead set on destroying the city. And hopefully all these federal indictments come down sooner rather than later, and we can start literally saving Jackson. In the meantime, listen to the Clay Edwards Show every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., 103.9 FM, WYAB. Make sure you check out the podcast. We upload the radio show every day, and I do clip it up into segments, as well as upload some internet exclusive podcast only stuff that goes to YouTube. But if you prefer the audio version only, I do push my videos over to the podcast. It's available on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, everywhere you download podcast. It's there. You can stream it live, WYAB.com, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Be sure to hit like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Get out, support your favorite locally owned bar. Again, you never know how close these locally owned small businesses are to not being there anymore. They depend on your support. Stay blessed. Peace out. And do avoid Jackson gas stations. Do avoid Jackson gas stations. I hate to hate on a local business, but I want y'all to survive too. So try to avoid them gas stations. Nothing worse than being stuck around a Jackson Democrat on a shooting spree.